It was nice to sit outside for a little while today, though.
What was that?
Nice to sit outside today for a little while.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I hope you all had the chance to get outside.
Hi.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So everyone, we're trying to make sure you have the agenda. So if you don't have it, could you please let us know? It is in the chat.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
just pasted it in chat with my wife's picture because she was the last person to use Zoom on my computer. So
That's all right. Thank you. So Commissioner Price, I guess we are ready to begin whenever you are.
Okay, yeah, right. It looks like we've probably got everyone that we are expecting. So so we will go ahead and get started and call to order. So
Okay.
welcome everyone.
Let me pause. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I didn't do this. I always try to check in with marketing first. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Mary,
no,
are we?
Good call.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Excellent. Well, now we call to order. So, please ignore the previous call to order. This one is the actual order call. So yes, welcome to the March 2022, because I absolutely know what month we're in, the NDO subcommittee meeting. And I don't think we've got any new faces today, so I think we are ready to just jump on in. So we will skip over 1 and 2. And so we are in section 3, status of recommendations, action items for the NDO study report. So
Commissioner
yes, go ahead.
Price, if I may interject, because I think I can assist here very much. And I would like to actually show you all something that I hope that you will appreciate, because it was done with the best of intentions. Eleanor, would you please do the honors showing our NDOs, as we affectionately call them, both Eleanor and Trishanta, have been quite busy, and I have been driving them absolutely insane with trying to get a few things ready for you all for today. And so I want to ask Eleanor if she could please share what she has done in preparation for this discussion today.
Awesome.
Okay. So please just scroll. I would love for the commissioners and the subcommittee members to see what you all have been up to. And what they've been up to is working on a draft of the report for you all based on your minutes, email, feedback from these past almost a year now. And they have tried to organize it for you so that it's in a reportable format. And so you will see the table of contents, and you see the recommendations are based on your focus areas. And if she scrolls on down, you will see, yeah, we've been doing screenshots. I know y'all didn't know that necessarily, but as Eleanor suggested, we could either do like a screenshot like this from our virtual meetings, or we could ask each of you to send in headshots. But anyway, so you see there's just a little overview of the subcommittee there and the list of members. And this is all a draft. So what we wanted to do was provide you all with something, a blueprint from which you could work, something you could revise and modify and just kind of tweak as needed. But you needed something, I thought, just to be able to get you jump started with this. So if Eleanor scrolls on, this is where I was going to ask Commissioners Price and Thompson to maybe add language, since they are the co-chairs of the subcommittee, with maybe a little more detail about the origins of the NDO, any kind of legal perspectives, and I can help you with that for what we've been discussing and where we got the authority, which of course we're going to talk about the General Assembly and all of that, and how it kind of, trickled down after the expiration of the ban on doing NDOs to making it possible for municipalities to in fact create non-discrimination ordinances. And then the community support, maybe talk about some of the organizations that have assisted, and the city council, the fact that they established the subcommittee, and maybe talk about when that happened. And then the focus groups, how you all came up with the idea for the focus groups. So I just wanted to ask, and you all don't have to do that. If you'd rather that we try to pull something together as a staff, we can, but I thought it would be great to have the committee to have kind of a hands-on, especially with the executive summary. And it doesn't have to be that long, maybe a page or two, but I didn't know if that may be something that the two of you may want to lead and work on together.
That sounds good.
Okay, and just yeah, those are just ideas. You may have other ideas. We just wanted to give you something, again, just to go by. And so if we scroll on down, scroll on down, and you will see the next page, we get into the meat of the report, which are the recommendations. And the way we have done this is to have the actual action items, the peer examples, if applicable, from other municipalities. I know early on, Jake was really instrumental and helping us to be able to kind of look at what others were doing across North Carolina or across the United States in certain areas. And then going down to performance measures, maybe just suggestions for how these action items can be measured for success. And so the staff took a stab at doing that as well and trying to just recommend some ways. So that was for housing, economic mobility. Economic mobility, you see, there's nothing there. And I know that we said that there was some overlap with, I think, maybe housing or some other areas in economic mobility. So we were really hoping for your help with that. And then if you go down to the next focus group, outreach and visibility, again, taken from the meetings, from the minutes, from your emails and so forth. Because I know that several times I mentioned, hey, that would be great to save for the report that you all are going to do. So we saved those emails. And so this is where a lot of this information, or all of it, is actually coming from. And then the next page goes into the city facilities, same thing, action items, peer examples, and performance measures. And then going on down, social services, same thing. And then the conclusion. And that's something that we just kind of, like I said, again, added in as filler language right now, but wanted you all to have something to work from, something you could look at and say, well, let's change this, let's flesh this out more, let's delete that, whatever you want to do. And so that is, I think that's the conclusion, right, Eleanor? Was that the last page?
I figured out how to unmute. It is the last page.
Okay, great. So just wanted to take it back up to the top, Eleanor, and ask the subcommittee what feedback they have, how you all would want to review this. I know it could be shared, work on it as a Google Doc or whatever offline. If you have any immediate thoughts, we could certainly make revisions and amendments now. And so that is that report. And we do have an attachment to this report, right, Eleanor and Shanta? We have an attachment that we're also going to show you, and we can attach the original resolution that created the subcommittee as well, but we wanted to also attach this because we thought this was very tangible to be able to show the NDO training schedule. So these are like 10 key groups that we could think of here locally that we could try to work with in terms of providing the NDO overview training to them so they know what this is all about, what the protected classes are, what does this mean, what does it look like? So this is just the very basic NDO overview training. And then of course we can follow up accordingly for those who may want specialized training in the area of, say, LGBTQ or race or disabilities and so on and so forth. So Shanta, Eleanor, did I miss anything? I know I was talking fast, but I don't want to take a lot of time.
No, I think you covered everything. Unless anyone has any questions, we'd be happy to answer those questions for them.
I have one thing, which is that this is not the document, the report document is not by any means a designed document. I can make it look much nicer. This is just for you guys to work from. It will look professional after we have the final text, but that's up on me.
Thank you, Eleanor. Yes, this is a rough draft. I promised them both that I was going to emphasize to you all that this is a rough draft, but we just wanted you kind of to see, where our minds were in terms of what you have been providing to us over the past several months. So now I can stop talking and turn it back over to you, Commissioner Price, and the rest of the subcommittee.
This is awesome. Thank you guys so much. This is fantastic start, fantastic draft, fantastic job pulling all this together. I don't speak for everyone here, but I had a crazy month and I just haven't had the time to get my thoughts together around this, and I was feeling bad, but now I'm guilt-free. This is amazing. because this is
Awesome.
exactly what I think we were all thinking, was that it was about time to start trying to grab all of our different recommendations and figure out where they are and get them into some kind of cohesive document. And I will be honest, and maybe I just hadn't been listening well enough, but it never crossed my mind that you guys were going to do this. So this is wonderful, because it really, I think, helps us take that next step where we may have kind of had some delays and run up against some walls of a bunch of disparate people trying to kind of cobble this together. So for you guys to jump on this is wonderful. So fantastic.
Mir,
Great.
Mir have a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is really great to see, and I don't think any apologies are necessary about even the current professionalism. I guess I have a low bar from coming from an academic context. Things look like, but yeah, I had one question, which was just I think in the housing group we've had some draft recommendations that I think we've sent to some people, but maybe it didn't get to the two of you who are working on this yet. So I guess I was wondering if this included our full thing, because we also had two sets. We had like housing specific action items, and then we also had more general ones, some of which might be appropriately distributed among the other subsections. So I just wasn't sure if this came from that most recent version that we had.
It came from the version I had at the last meeting. If there has been a new version since then, I don't have it. These are just the housing specific ones, and the others are mostly in here.
Okay. Yeah, because I think we have an update, because it looks like to me from just glancing at this, from what I can see on the screen, is that the details that you have are largely about shelters. And I think we just had a bit of expansion from this. Yeah, I think so. And then also, either we could help think about where to put the other suggestions, or you all are clearly able to figure that out. And then I also had a question about the training list that you had with community partners. So are these trainings that you would give to the community partners?
Yes.
Okay. Because I guess to me it looked like, just looking at that list, that there's sort of most. So yeah, I'm seeing these as sort of certain kinds of community-facing organizations. I'm wondering if there are ideas yet for how to push out to businesses and landlords. It's sort of a different set of folks.
I think that this is just our little small baby step. And we're hoping by touching these organizations that will then expand out to those businesses and things like that. And we're talking about getting literature out to those businesses and in those spaces where the community members and the citizens of Winston-Salem frequent, so that that information is accessible to them, so they know about the NDOs, so they know how to file a complaint, so they know how to request training. So this is just our small baby step, and we're totally open to suggestions of other places that we could offer training.
Yes, and that is true, Shanta. And this, if you notice, this is only 6 months out. And so this is just a starting point, as Shanta said. And we talked about the fact that the challenge is going to be getting the businesses to educate their employees, or at least make them aware that this is out there. And so, you know how with businesses, they're required to have the labor and OSHA types of caveats and information about the laws and so forth. And it would be good if we could have something similar. I don't know if it could be mandated or what, but we need to have them to put information up so that their employees are aware of these NDOs. But in the meantime, we were trying to start with organizations that work a lot with employees at different levels and in various capacities. And so any kind of job readiness or workforce development type of entity that you all may know of, it's not on, we know there are lots of organizations not on the list, but these were some of the groups that we work with pretty consistently the majority of them anyway, and we have a good relationship with already. So we wanted to touch on all the areas, or as many areas as we could under the NDOs, particularly when we're talking about disabilities and veterans and race and national origin. We tried to touch on is a few of those anyway in the first 6 months. But again, if you have any recommendations, like Shanta said, we're open to those.
I feel like one of the conversations that we were having in housing and maybe here was just sort of the challenges. Like one of the things I appreciate about this list is that, like you said, it's folks that maybe there's already a good relationship with, and that's something that we were talking about, that it's maybe a good place to start with people who are going to be friendly, and then maybe move out to people who are neutral, and then maybe you get to people who are hostile, or maybe not. I guess that was sort of a question that I've always had, like, what do we do with people who are hostile? But yeah, and then Jake, I think that the document that you just shared in the chat is the one I was thinking of. In my imagination, it was longer, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I was looking back at this, and the document that I've shared in the chat, it has, I think it was kind of a living document for us, so we'd started building it out, and so this may be what folks were looking at previously, but it's grown some since then, because I know there were some discussions, like Dre had brought up, I think around some of the, and maybe yourself, around the boilerplate language, and the, I know at our work group meeting on Saturday, we had talked about, well, if we don't know exactly how many beds to recommend for LGBTQ beds at shelters, maybe we just suggest a percentage based on percentage of the population or percentage of LGBTQ youth that are homeless or things like that. And so we shared some new data in there. So I think this document's grown and changed a little bit since last time. And Eleanor and Drashanta, I'll see if I have your emails, and so I'll make sure. I don't think I originally created this document, but I think I do have sharing access at least, so I can make sure you all have access to this too. But I'm really excited to see everything that's been put together. I think this is a great step.
I just looked at that shared document real quick, and everything that was on it, I have put in the report. There may not be as many details. In fact, I'm sure there aren't. Yeah. But everything is in there in at least a skeletal form, except adding stuff to the boilerplate, because I really don't think we have the legal power to compel that.
All right. Yeah, I know we made a few changes to this document on Saturday, but if y'all have seen it since then and used that for what you incorporated, it may already be in there.
But like you guys will have this document, so feel free to go in and like make changes, add it to it, whatever you need to do. This is just a starting point.
One of the things that we discussed on Saturday also was the possibility of maybe, and not knowing that this was going to be presented to us today. So this was like somebody coming with flowers when you're not expecting it. It's just it's really great to see that. So thank you for the work that you've been doing. We had talked about the possibility of maybe in one of our sessions coming up, doing a focus group with some local business people, citizens, so we can understand maybe what they would like to see for training, help them to help us understand how to reach them with this information. And I'm wondering, Wanda, when you had mentioned about, compelling for training for business owners to their employees, is someone who had a staff, I think for me, it would be greatly helpful to have maybe a video training, sort of like the city has for our non-discrimination training that we do to come onto the commission, where employees can watch that, sign off that they watch that. It helps the employers because it's an easy thing for them to provide to their team members. And it's consistent. The messaging is consistent from one business to the next. And maybe that could be part of that. I don't know if we have a certification process or we call it an NDO friendly organization, something like that, where that's part of that.
That's right, because didn't you all recommend something like that, where there could be some kind of a sticker or something that the business could put up that said that they were an NDO friendly business, some kind of little thing. What we could probably do, and Eleanor, we could probably add this, something, we need to have a section maybe for general recommendations. And Melissa, everything you said, I think is absolutely awesome in terms of having those video recorded training sessions, and also the whole thing about the sticker or something that people can display to show that they are supportive of the NDOs. I think those are two things that we could add to a general recommendation section. What do y'all think about that? Would you like to have that section added into the report? Since, I mean, or it could probably fall under what? I think y'all had said it could fall under economic mobility last time, didn't you?
Just the sticker program is currently under outreach visibility, just to be clear.
Is it? Okay.
It's in there.
Okay. How about the videos, Eleanor? We probably don't have that, huh?
It's under housing about providing training. It doesn't say video specifically. It just says training.
Okay.
And it does mention businesses as well as shelters. So that could be pulled out.
Because we do need to add some stuff to the economic page. Yeah, there's nothing there. So even if some of these things may be somewhat duplicative, it would still depend on the context. So if we're talking about the business context versus the housing context, as you just pointed out, Eleanor, those are different, even though they're the same recommendation. It's just in different contexts. Amaris, I'm sorry. I know you were going to jump in, right?
Yeah, I guess I wonder if we need to get some clarity around the different sticker decal conversations that we had. Like, I know there was a recommendation that came out of housing that was attached to training, but the recommendation that came out of outreach and visibility was there was not a training requirement for the decal. The decal was kind of the incentive to push towards training. So it's kind of like, like you can put this decal up and then, oh, by the way, we offer this training and these support things, and this would be helpful to you, but not that you had to complete the training to get the decal. And it's very similar, but it's different enough where I just wonder if we should kind of parse that out, decide, do we want both or do we want one or the other?
That's a great distinction, I think.
Yeah.
I love that two-tier idea. Like, maybe you get the initial decal, it shows visibility, shows support, and then maybe you go through a training, you get a certificate or something else, like some kind of two-tiered thing. Sounds great to me.
And somebody, I think Commissioner Thompson mentioned something about a certificate. We do have certificates that we issue right now for our fair housing and landlord tenant trainings. So we could do something similar for this. Yeah. It's not like a quote real certification per se, but it's just a certificate of completion. And it's a really nice certificate that somebody, if they wanted to, they could frame it and so forth. So we could certainly do that. Is that kind of what you had in mind, Commissioner Thompson?
Oh, yeah. I think, yeah, and I think there is the way to look at it. And I think that's where maybe a focus group where we can get a couple business owners in to see, on those different approaches, which would be most compelling to them to want to learn more about, to offer the training to their team members. But I think Amaris is right. There are two different types of programs. One, here's the sticker, and then here's some information about training that can be available for your staff, or, here's some training, and when that's completed, we'll give you the sticker. It really is two very different approaches to that. And you might get two different levels of participation based on those methods.
In my head, I had been thinking of, as we started talking about this, as like a two-tier of sticker. Like, you have an NDO friendly sticker and an NDO trained sticker. And I've been kind of bouncing that as we've been chatting back and forth, and as far as the pros and cons versus like just one, and then the certificate or some kind of plaque you put on the wall or something. And I don't really know yet where I fall. I kind of like the two sticker idea, but I don't want to make people feel that like just being friendly isn't good enough. But I kind of also want to make people feel like just being friendly isn't good enough. Where do you guys fall on that? I'm still way up in the air.
Yeah, Mir, go ahead.
I guess I'm trying to think about the logistics. If it's like on a really pretty large scale, I'm having a hard time imagining doing like a multi-tier thing. And I guess I was also just thinking about, the multiple goals of it. Some of it is incentive to try to get people to do training, maybe. Like some of it is just like educating. I mean, I'm imagining that like part of the goal is if these stickers exist in businesses, I don't know, apartment management offices, community organizations, that I guess in my mind, part of the goal is to foster a conversation also, between different people who are, someone comes in, like, what is that? You talk about it. I don't know. I guess I feel like on the one hand, I want people to get trained. So I do want it to be tied to a training. But on the other hand, I see advantage in it also just being a method of advertising that the NDOs exist at all. So I sort of see it both ways, but I'm struggling with imagining the logistics if it's a multi-tier thing.
Yeah, from an operations perspective, I think if we add too many layers and we only have so many staff people to manage these types of programs, we have to be sensitive to that too. And if they can't follow up on it or they, get behind, that's not helpful. I also am wondering, like we talk about certificates on that can be placed in the facility. What about badges that can be put on websites?
That's interesting. I like that.
I know, like for nonprofits through GuideStar, you get certified that you have so many of the best practices in place, and you can get a certificate, a seal to put on your website to show that you are, working in best practices. And maybe the city can create a seal for the NDO that, for organizations, if they have the sticker, this is a digital file that could easily be created and given to those companies who want to show that they're NDO compliant.
That's a good recommendation. Where do you see that fitting in under the focus areas?
I think that would be economic development. Likely that's going to be more of a kind of from a marketing perspective and building awareness for companies that are welcoming of everyone.
Okay. Awesome.
And one of the things kind of out of social services, and it all dovetails, right, was to have like lists of links to potential services. And of course we could do the same thing for friendly businesses as on a pure voluntary standpoint. People reach out, say, I'd like to be on the list, and and we put them on the list, and then maybe we put a badge next to that link on city website that shows, oh, this person's been trained, not necessarily instead of what you just said, Melissa, but potentially in addition, or just different ideas.
May I say something?
Yes, please.
Also, hi everybody. Also, with the sticker, maybe they can insert a QR code. That way, for other people, say I'm just passing by and I see your sticker, I might want to, shoot the QR code and I see the video for the training. I just thought I'd throw that out.
Yeah, I think we talked about that at a last meeting, and it could give details about what the NDO is so people could understand and get educated that way too.
Yes, I think you mentioned that, Melissa, and Iris, thanks for the reminder.
Yeah.
And is that already in the report? If not, we can certainly add that, because we do want to take advantage of technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
As much as
I didn't see anything about QR codes in any of the minutes or emails, so no, that's not in there currently.
Okay.
That's something we can add, and still under the same section, Melissa?
Yeah, I think that would all be under economic. I think that's a way, and then outreach. I mean, it can, kind of falls, I think, under both, but it's providing businesses with a tool to let people know, if you have a sticker in the window and it's just a sticker and it's maybe a symbol, they don't know what it's for, it doesn't really help. But if you have a QR code in it that helps give background. Mira, go ahead. I see your hand up.
Speaking of technology, I was just thinking, like, obviously, the best trainings will be sort of in-person trainings where you can have conversations with somebody who's an expert in this. But I wonder if there's a way to have a place online that has videos about different aspects of NDO, maybe even like an interactive quiz. Like maybe there's a way to essentially let people effectively access the training materials just online. Because again, if I'm just thinking like, not everyone's what's sort of the bar of access to these different things. And like, I could see a business requiring their employees to watch some videos and even take a quiz. Seems a lot trickier to require them to like go to an in-person workshop. I mean, I can see organizations that are really into this stuff and geared toward it, like doing physical in-person trainings or Zoom or whatever. But I'm just trying to think if we could make a lower bar to entry, but still kind of meaty training that could just be out there. And I assume this is going to be a couple of years, right, for people to get educated. Like, I don't know, or if it's just 1 year, or whatever, that's just another way for people to access. And like QR codes could take people there too, and it could just be something that might be more accessible for a lot of people in the city.
I like that suggestion here. I know as a lot of companies want to add more diversity, equity, and inclusion training, so not everyone has the staff or the department or the funds to really get quality training in there. So if some of the training videos that the city maybe provides for your employees could also be made accessible to companies wanting to train their employees or make that accessible to them, that could be helpful too. And especially to the different classes because there's so many different protected classes and different ways to be accommodating and accessible and inclusive. So I feel like, Wanda, you shared some different flyers and documents and newsletters, and I think there was a list of training in there that you're creating through your department for your employees and rolling that out month by month. I think it looked like different topics, and I could be wrong, but I think that's what I saw, and I was impressed with that.
Thank you, Melissa. You're correct. You're referring to something that Shane did actually, and he's on the call today. And he's, of course, on a member of our DEI division. And so he rolled out exactly that. Shane, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, the goal for us is to each month be able to do a particular training around each different protective class. And I think, with the NDO, it might look a little bit different for the fact that like they're working with businesses. And so it might be hard to do one each month around a particular protective class. But I think for us, just to kind of give people like a general introduction of like, here's a particular topic around like sexism or racism or, what does ethnicity mean and how that's different from race. And so being able to kind of start educating employees on a month-to-month basis about these different topics, I think we're seeing that it's going to be really helpful for people just to kind of get a basic education and then look at that as ways of avenues to explore other ways for education for our city employees.
Shane, do you see that as the type of training that could be disseminated out through the community just to people interested in learning more?
I mean, I would definitely leave that up to Eleanor and DeShanta, since they're the ones who are definitely doing a lot of the outreach for what the city sees. I think, I more look at them as the experts since they're the ones who are in charge of the outreach and stuff. So I would kind of lean to them. But I think in my personal opinion, looking at ways of maybe doing some like, maybe not generic, but just like overview things, because knowing that people's time is really precious, and I don't know if they'll have time to do something around each topic every month could be a little bit hard. But I would kind of lean toward Eleanor and DeShanta about like their expertise, since it's their like kind of thing that they're going to be over.
Yeah, and that's what I was asking, is like the type of video you're creating, it probably would be a different type than one that you would use within your staff.
Yeah.
And then I'm wondering too, those types of videos, if we could create some shorter length, but helpful videos in those different areas, maybe using something like the Nextdoor app to put links out to those and get those on the Nextdoor sites and stuff as access to community, as well as the NDO information. I know I've seen a ton of Facebook postings about the NDO and what it means and how to file the complaints or that type of thing. That's wonderful. I'm seeing that a lot. But I think that Nextdoor app is a good way to get that information out too. And then maybe also through community watch groups or groups like that meet and have people who are interested in, creating a better, safer community for everyone.
I kind of wonder if some of the local universities might be able to promulgate some of this information too, because a lot of students end up renting apartments after their first year or so at college, and we have so many colleges and universities in the city. That might be one place to partner. I don't want to shift the conversation ahead prematurely, but one question I wanted to ask is, once we do, members of the committee receive a copy of this excellent draft report and we want to start providing feedback, just what's the best way to do that? Like, are we going to be writing into it directly? Should we use the add comments function? Like, I know if you have 12 people writing in a Google Doc at the same time, things can get a little tricky sometimes, and you all maybe already made some expert decisions about, like, this doesn't apply because legally speaking, Winston-Salem can't do this. And then if we just go in and say, oh, that wasn't there, we're going to write it in, versus if we use add comments or maybe we just email you. I don't know, but what's the best way for us to contribute to this?
Okay, this is your document now. Like, I made the skeleton, it's up to you to put the meat on it. That was the idea. So please don't email me and ask me to add things to it. Like, you do that, we'll get some to where you think you're done. And then maybe we'll look at it all again as a group and I will lay it out. But this was just intended to be a starting point for this group to work from.
That makes a lot of sense, especially with the capacity. Like, I know it could be an overwhelming amount of emails for every little thing.
Yes, and I am also going to be out on maternity leave starting in April, so.
If you need to email and ask me a question, you can. Feel free to. I can't. Again, it is your document. But if you do have a question or need some type of assistance, I'm willing to. And that, of course, there's a threshold for that. But we want to guide each other through this whole process so that it comes out in the best way possible. So.
Well, yes, I mean, definitely ask questions. I am not the only person allowed to make edits to this document. In fact, we would prefer that you guys do that. And this is, like I said, just a starting point.
Yes, that makes sense. But good question. Like, it's good to get that out there. And so we'll just say each subcommittee kind of has the power and responsibility to go ahead and update best as we can, and then we'll take another look at it after we've got edits in. Big question there is what we do for economic mobility, considering it's blank, and we've had some good ideas today of things to shift there, but B, that our focus group on economic mobility has dissolved. No one remains who is there.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe the housing group, we've had a good group working, and maybe we can kind of shift over to that topic on our next meeting and think about it ahead of time and maybe see if we can fill some in there.
Jake, did you have something?
Oh, I just see Amaris's hand is raised, and I know there were some other documents that were shared previously too at our last meeting that maybe weren't in we recommend form, but I know there were some other documents floating around too.
Well, that's up to us now, Jake.
Amaris, go ahead.
Hey, so this is not related to economic mobility. I know we need ideas there, but from the conversation we were just having, it made me think about the city of Winston-Salem University, or the that program that the city does where groups come through. Does this department, the Human Relations Commission, typically have a night in that program?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I wonder if that would be a good enough place for us to stick in some visibility about the NDO, or if there's something, some other way it could become a part, because that's kind of that broad outreach training thing, right? Because you get all kinds of people coming through that.
That is so true. And that is exactly what we do. We talk about the department and the different services that we provide, and NDO will be a part of that, moving forward. And they had been, I think even last time we talked about NDO, even though we weren't this far along. And so definitely we'll continue with that with City of Winston-Salem University. Definitely.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. And quick question, Commissioner Price, I just wanted to put this out there and ask if anyone has any connections to perhaps Greater Winston-Salem or any of those, like the Chamber, those types of groups that may be willing to work with us in a way that would not seem, I don't want there to be any type of perception that we are trying to get businesses in trouble or create problems for business owners and that type of thing. But we just want to make sure that they are aware too, because again, this is not a gotcha thing. This is not that. And so we don't want businesses to feel that way. So we certainly do not want to give the impression that we're shunning them or that they'd be amenable to learning this information, because quite frankly, it would be just as advantageous to them as it would be to their employees, because they would know what things to kind of look out for and to make sure their supervisors and managers aren't doing. So, but does anybody have any kind of a connection that we could potentially use that we already have a connection with?
I don't know folks with the local Chamber of Commerce, but I do know at the Visit Winston-Salem group that helps kind of advertise and promote our city. Joey, who I just dropped a link with the staff directory there that has all the contact information, but Joey Burdett was supportive of the NDO and supportive of, like I said, the Visit Winston-Salem was supportive of it. They put up one of the rainbow stickers in support of it. So using that staff directory and Joey Burdett's contact information, that might be one space to connect, and they may in turn have connections with the chamber. I don't know.
I'm wondering if there's a connection with the Forsyth Tech, their small business group. That could be a good place to make sure this information is available as they help people with starting up small businesses, and also like maybe the Mixer, where we're getting in front of entrepreneurs and people who are thinking about starting up.
That's a good idea, because you know what, with the city, we do have the business inclusion department, and they work with they do the Mixer, and they work with minority and women-owned businesses, and so we could probably partner with them. But again, we need to make sure we're not just focusing on minority and women-owned enterprises. We need to focus on everybody.
Right.
But that's definitely a good connection there. Sort of like the SOAR program, because that's a city program too for offenders, for people who've been incarcerated, and try to get them into jobs. And so that's why we put SOAR on that list as well, because that's an internal resource. But just curious if anybody had any connections to the chamber or any of those organizations.
Hey, good evening, and my apologies for just joining the meeting. But Wanda, I have a connection at the chamber, and so I think what I heard is that the discussion was, and please correct me if I didn't get the whole gist of it, but looking at how to connect businesses with the tags that we've talked about at the last meeting in their windows. Is that what the conversation was?
That's a part of it. Just wanting to make sure that the businesses, and welcome, by the way, Commissioner Wiggins, but just to make sure that businesses were aware of the NDOs, to make sure that they knew what these new ordinances mean, what they protect, and then yes, incentivizing hopefully somehow for them to want to put those decals or stickers in their windows. And we want them to share, because we've already done, I don't know if we shared with you all the flyer that Eleanor and Drashanta worked on but we've already printed flyers about the NDO and started giving those out in the community. But we want them to hang those in their places of business as well, so that employees can just read about it or make copies of it if they need to. Did I share that with you all already, that flyer? Okay.
I don't think with this committee, I think it might have come to.
Oh, maybe the commission, maybe.
But I think
So,
I think I shared that out with some of our members once we received it.
Okay, but we can share it on screen. If somebody could access it real quick and share it on screen, I'd greatly appreciate it, so that everyone can have an idea of what we're talking about. But it's just a snapshot of what the NDOs encompass.
It would be great if we all had, yes, there would be access. So Wanda, and the commission, rather, maybe the question, I don't know, but isn't it more, maybe a more blanket way that we could share the information so that everyone has access instead of in pockets? Is it possible to do that?
That would be great if we could do that somehow. And short of the piece and things like this, like the flyer that Eleanor is showing on screen now, that's what we've done so far. And we'd be open to anything else. We're going to, we need to double check to make sure it's done on WSTV 13, because I don't get WSTV 13 at home, but we need to make sure that we have that up there as well. Jake, I see your suggestion about a mass mailing. I know in the past they put information in like the city's newsletter type of thing that goes out. I think it's gone out in the water bills or somewhere. Jamie, can you speak to that? But those types of things.
Yeah, I think mass distribution be more intentional. That way, you know, everybody's getting the same message, as well as sharing out, and we can share on our Facebook page. But I think that's a wonderful idea.
Okay. Also, yeah, I agree. I agree with you too. So we're open. Yes, Jamie.
We can talk to Frank about getting a blurb in that city now, or whatever that is that goes out in the water bills. Okay,
thank you, Jamie. And so Frank, who she's referencing, he's the Deputy Director in Marketing Communications. Thank you, Jamie. And sorry, Mir, I was probably talking when you were trying to jump in. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I was just thinking about different forms of mass communication, and is it possible to do something like at Dash games or like other really large kind of events like that, where you just have like a couple thousand people in a space? I don't know if that's the type of thing that you have to like pay for advertising, or if, you know, just be like, now the city of Winston-Salem, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to imagine places where we can hit people in larger spaces in a variety of ways. And I think the mass mailing idea is really good, but also I throw out the things that come in my water, but I don't know. I'm just like thinking about hitting every person and somehow in multiple ways, and some are more intensive, like through your employer, and we're just not going to hit that many people that way.
Right. We can explore that about the, you know, like the public events and sporting events and things of that nature. But my question is, have you all been following what we've been doing on social media? We put information on social media about the NDOs, and I don't know how many of you have been following it, but if you haven't, I highly recommend that you pull up what we've put on social media and look at some of the comments that we have received. Some of the comments are extremely disconcerting, very concerning, I don't even know how to describe it. You just need to see what we're dealing with. And of course, we're talking about 17 protected classes. So it's not like it's just aimed at just one, or it shouldn't be just aimed at one protected class or two or three. But we have seen some interesting feedback. A lot of it's been positive, but a lot of it has been pretty scary.
It's been a little disturbing. I was surprised.
Yeah, there was some some animus and some the comments out there. I was surprised too, but in a way I wasn't.
But
Yeah,
it's get mixed. Yeah. I do like, I like Jake's idea, and it goes back and also kind of pulls in maybe the Dash Stadium, but you know, having a table out. I know I've seen the city out before with tables at different events, with where we can have brochures, where there's someone that can talk about what it is about. We can at least grab people's attention for a minute just to share what it's about, maybe get their interest so that they read the flyer that it is. So, but I don't know staffing wise, like how do you accommodate that as well? But the couple events that he pointed out really kind of resonate with what this is about as well. And it would be a really appropriate place, I think, for us to try to do something like that.
And those are all ideas that we can capture to put in this report again. Right. And some of this we'd have to get feedback and input from marketing and solicit their guidance, because we want to be consistent with how they do with other information, with other departments and initiatives and things of that nature. So, but again, there is nothing wrong with suggesting or recommending. So I think that it would be great to include that in the report.
And I know, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Amaris.
Oh, I was just saying, I know I saw representatives of the department at the community meetings that we had for those of us in the 1 mile evacuation zone around Weber. And so, you know, I guess any of those opportunities, you know, where you all are out in the community, if we can recommend that you are supported in providing the flyers or information, or, you know, that might be, you know, just something to include in our recommendations.
Yes, and that was very helpful to Amaris, because as you know, we were there at those community meetings, and Eleanor was there distributing business cards and the flyers to the community. And Eleanor, weren't you depleted for the most part? I think you gave away all that we had at each night. And so the community, they were taking the information. So hopefully the word will spread as we continue to do those types of outreach initiatives.
Is it possible for us to come up with the percentage of the population that actually falls within one of the protected classes? I think with 17 protected classes, that number is going to be eye-opening for a lot of people. And so is there a way for us maybe within the city to come, do we have that figure available? How many people fall under one or more of those protected classes?
I mean, everyone does, because everyone has, you know, some kind of gender that's protected.
So you know,
everybody pretty much does.
Creating a campaign about 100% of you are affected by this, or that, you know, somehow getting people to understand. And I think to Wanda's, I think a lot of times when we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, people are looking at one aspect of it and forgetting that there's so many other pieces to it as well. And many people belong to more than one protected class, and it's even more meaningful to them. So, you know, maybe somehow we can create a story around the impact that it impacts every one of us.
Mm-hmm. And that would be a great recommendation for a marketing campaign and for our marketing communications department, because they are the experts with marketing for city government services and programs. And so that could easily be added to the report in the appropriate area.
Yeah, I think education is going to be the key, because I do think that individuals, and I think we have to be mindful as to how we discuss the NDO. And I think when we have a narrative that focuses on the 17 protected classes, we can kind of dispel some of the misinformation as to how individuals are perceiving what the NDO represents. And I think it's, you know, just a little bit more indicative of our community and its design and where we are as a nation overall. But I think when we look at how we package the NDO as a whole and what it does for our community, I think we have a better chance at, you know, trying to change people's not really change their minds, but just provide that education, because sometimes people don't really know. They focus on one particular aspect of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Eleanor, to your point earlier, all of each of us falls into more than one protected class, because you are going to be some type of race or ethnicity. And like Eleanor said, you're going to be some type of gender. So that instantly puts you in this, whether you want to be or not, you're in it. Just like y'all said, Melissa, bring that point home to everyone. I think that'll make a lot of people stop and pause. It's not going to necessarily rid us of these hateful posts on Facebook that we've been receiving, but it was certainly opened some people's eyes.
You're also seeing, sorry.
I was just going to say, I pulled up the dashboard for the city's Facebook to see what, not just how many comments, but the likes and the interactions based off of your like first instinct to like, unlike, hate, laugh, all of those things. And there still is a majority like and love. And I think we need to focus on that. There's always going to be people putting negative comments on social media. That's something that we can't take away. But really looking at the focusing on that people are still that initial reaction. If they're going to react, their like and love is still the majority.
Thank you, Jamie. And Eleanor, I'm sorry, you had your hand up, right?
Yes, the other common criticism I saw is there seems to be misconception that all these things are already protected by federal law, which is not true. And even for the ones that are, of course, it's a very different process to get relief. And this is much simpler for people, which I don't think they understand. But I think it would be a good idea to try to educate people that their federal rights are not as expansive as they seem to think they are.
Right.
I agree.
And it's certainly, the process is certainly not as expeditious as you said, Eleanor, is having it local.
I'm curious if anyone has utilized, I know you won't be able to talk about any specifics, but has anyone utilized the new complaint tool yet? Or is it just so new no one has had a chance yet?
Still haven't gotten anything.
Well, Shanta, did you not receive an online session?
I did. I received a request for, on the website, we have just a form that you can fill out if you're interested in any type of the training we'll be offering in the future. And I have gotten a request from someone that I will follow up with. I don't think the person was coming from a business. They put that they were a self-advocate as their title. So I do need to delve into that and figure out exactly what that means for that person. But we have gotten our first training request. So that's outside of the list that we are already working on that you all saw, but that was an individual request from someone.
That was a training request, okay. Thank you. And Ellen, what you just had up on the screen, I think you shared that, correct? What do you all think about having that included in the report?
Yeah, I was going to ask that, please.
That would be good data.
Great. Thank you for showing that, Eleanor. That was great.
I just wanted to put that together because I think a visual tool is most helpful to educate people.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Maybe we need to put it on Facebook. That might just infuriate people though even more, but anyway.
I think we should.
Have we ever used like the poll function on Facebook where maybe you could start questioning people about some of these protections and see if they think like the federal government protects that? And again, it can be an eye-opening way to introduce people to what the truth is, about that and why this NDO is so important.
That's another good recommendation. We can certainly put that in the report too.
It can all go in the report.
Yes.
Okay, well,
Yes,
speaking of the
more
report,
the merrier.
and certainly this has been a wonderful discussion today. We can keep going, but to start to wrap that up. So it sounds like what we're going to do is we're going to kind of divide out the responsibilities for each of the focus groups to update their section. Commissioner Vice Chair Thompson and I will get together to talk about the opening page, the summary, or the opening page where we kind of talk about the initiative in general. And we will go from there. Do we have a format? Are we going to use Google Docs, or is everyone just going to kind of update their own section and then we'll try to paste it all back together? Preference?
Anyone have a preference? Eleanor, what's easiest for you? What do the members think?
I feel like Eleanor's handed that off to us. So I think as a group, we can update through the doc, and just, I think maybe if we can either use the comment, or as we're adding something, highlight it and note like who's added it. I don't know how important that is, but as we make changes, just note, who's making the changes. So if we have questions, we can get clarity.
I definitely think it'll, sorry.
Please go ahead.
Oh, I just definitely think it'll be a lot easier for everyone if everyone's working off of one document.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we thinking then of a Google document? Is it already? I hadn't noticed.
It's a Microsoft document, but you can do the same. It has the same capability as a Google Doc. You can still work with a Microsoft document, write those comments and share it. Yeah, you can share it and work and co-work in the Microsoft just like a Google Doc.
Oh,
but I can easily make it a Google Doc and send the link too. So it's fine. Doesn't make a difference to me.
I would say, Eleanor, if you can go ahead and do that, because I think all of us have Gmail. And so it'll be easier for us to, I think, probably pull from there. We've been using Google Docs all along, I think.
Awesome. You send that link, then it is ours. We will take ownership. We will love it and cherish it and call it ours. And we'll try to get a good solid round of updates done by next meeting. We of course don't have to wait that long, but that's I think that's a good goal to have. Any other? And for economic mobility, I will accept the housing group's offer to take a stab at that. I made some notes about the topics we were moving into economic mobility, so I'll email those out once we're done. I don't think any of them will be surprising. They're just things we mentioned today. So. Okay, well, any other thoughts on the document, on the focus groups before we move on with the agenda, which there's not much more to move on to? Wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna scroll on up so I can see said agenda. So that would have put us to the Human Relations Commission department updates. Wanda, do you have any department updates you need to share today that we haven't covered?
I jumped ahead and gave you my updates when I just couldn't stand it anymore. I had to show you all the draft. So that was the update.
Well, speaking of department updates, congratulations, Eleanor, on your upcoming leave. That's amazing. Okay,
You're
wonderful.
excited.
Yes, that is exciting. Awesome. Okay, then we are down to the next section, which is community updates and events. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share about community events going on?
I'll just flag that Juneteenth and Pride look like they're going to fall in the same weekend this year. So that'll be a busy time for Winston-Salem, maybe a time for some tabling, some outreach, that kind of thing. But coming up, and I know some of the tablings, slots fill up fast sometimes. I've done tabling at both of these events before. So I don't know if the city's planning to do tabling, but sometimes it's good to get on that early.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes, we usually are a sponsor, Jake, through our Department of Pride. We're usually there every year with our table, and then we are a big sponsor of Juneteenth. And so it will be interesting to see how we're going to divide our time, but we're going to have to do that.
How did that happen?
I think, Juneteenth happening around June 19th, I think is perfectly normal. I think it's the Pride side of things. Nationally, June has always been Pride Month, but here in the South, because it's so hot, a lot of Southern states do their various Pride festivals more towards October or September, around that time frame. Since October is Queer History Month, like a lot of them end up following there. But COVID ended up causing the Pride Parade to get canceled a couple of times in a row. And so they decided, well, let's not delay it a full year. Let's just delay it until June. At least that's what I heard indirectly, was they were delaying it until June to coincide with National Pride Month. So we're kind of doing Pride at the same time most cities and states across the country are doing Pride, even if it's a little unusual for the South. But yeah, it'll be a happening weekend in Winston-Salem.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Well, we are all the way through our agenda. Again, wonderful talk today. Again, thank you so much, Eleanor and Shanta, and anyone else who helped with the draft of the document. I think that puts us a lot further along, which is fantastic. Does anyone else have any thoughts, questions, or updates they want to share before we call it?
One question. Do we expect this meeting to be, it's been really accessible having these meetings be virtual, especially since it falls during my work hours. But I know some things have been changing around city mask mandates and CDC guidance and various other things. And I was curious, do we still expect our April meeting will be virtual, or do we expect to be back in person potentially?
As far as I know, we're planning for a virtual meeting. And so unless we're told or directed to do otherwise, and if we of course have an option, I think that for most of our advisory boards and committees, the virtual platform has enabled a lot more people to be able to participate. So we'll probably keep going until maybe we're directed not to for some reason. But I don't even know that that will happen, that we're told, oh, you can't. So right now, the plan is to continue with virtual.
Good question. Yeah, that's I have a preference. I'd love to see you all in person sometime soon, but it is, we've got a cadence, we've got kind of a nice rhythm to this. So it'd be nice to kind of keep going with what we've got. So, fantastic. Okay, well, anything else? Well, wonderful contribution today, everyone. We will get that document updated in as many ways as we can, and we will talk again in a month. So have a wonderful evening and take care.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.